What's up guys, this is Barrett, and today I want to talk about ear training. Why is ear training important? How does it work? Why do musicians need ear training? Let's talk about it. There's really two different sides to ear training at its core. You have the rhythmic side of ear training, and you have the tonal side of ear training. So the tonal side of ear training has everything to do with tonality, or being inside of a key. So generally in our music these days, we're referring to either a major key or a minor key. That's why it's so important to learn both of those scales on guitar, because those are the building blocks of pretty much every melody or song you've ever heard in our Western society. So the major scale, you got the second finger. I'm just starting on the A, 5th fret, pinky, 7th fret, first finger, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 4th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret, 4th, 6, 7, 5, 7, 4, 5. So you get this. And you can go up one more note to 7, and you can go back one more note to 4. The reason why this is so important to practice is because you're really training that tonal side of your ear. And you can either do it with the age-old do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or you can do it with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Either way, it works exactly the same. So if you do it do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and so on, okay? Now you're saying to yourself, well, Barrett, why did you start singing? Well, for whatever reason, another age-old kind of saying in music is, if you can sing it, you can play it. And that's true for any instrument, for anything ever. That's why you hear drummers going boom, because if I can process it, if I can sing it in some way, I can hear it, okay? And then that means I can produce it on the instrument. It's the same thing for guitar or piano or whatever. And so when you're singing a major scale, you're really internalizing that major scale tonally. In ear training, you really go through and do all kinds of different things. Do intervals meaning one note to the next. So da da is a second, da da is a third, da da is a fourth, is a fifth, sixth, seventh octave. Now here's the point. If you hear all that, then you'll also hear the outsiders. So then try singing notes that are outside of the scale of the chord you're playing, like see how it works in music is, if you're outside of the key, then all you have to do is go up a note or go down a note, and you'll be inside the key. So if you're ever out of the key and you're not doing it on purpose, all you have to do is raise your note or lower your note. But this is all a tonal thing. When American Idol first came out, I couldn't hear when people were off key, and I actually recorded an album with some guys, my first band. I went to the studio and my dad kept telling us, you guys are singing out of key, and I couldn't hear it back then. I wasn't musically mature or trained enough at that point. And over time, I learned what they were talking about. I could hear flat if a note was lower than the key you're looking for. I could hear flat. I can hear sharp. Whatever. I've tried to sing way up here. It's not easy. It's hard to sing, but the point is, that's a tonal ear. And there's a lot more to this than just knowing what note's inside of a key and what note isn't. You can also get more complicated with it, like knowing what chords are inside of a key and what chords aren't. See, all these chords are inside of this key, and we can also give them names and such. So like if I played this, whoa, you'll hear that kind of stuff in movie soundtracks. But technically that's not inside a major key. So nowadays we do crazy stuff with harmony. No one really obeys the rules of harmony that much anymore. So that's the tonal side of your ear training, is learning what notes are inside of a scale, particularly the major scale first, because every other scale is based off of the major scale. And then the rhythm side of things, because believe me, you can't just train your ear tonally, you also need to train your ear rhythmically. Let's talk about that. That's what this was built for, okay? Metronome. Now, I first want to explain that metronomes are not devices for those who aren't good at music. It's not just for the inexperienced, it's also for the experienced. A metronome will constantly keep evolving your rhythmic ear. So let's talk about it. So the first thing you'll see a number, which will represent a BPM, beats per minute, just like your heart rate. So 102 would be, not fast, but not too slow. Yeah. So let's slow that down a little bit. All metronomes generally have a tap button. You can tap the tempo and make it slower. Let's go to 80. 80 is a good way to train your ear rhythmically because it's not that fast. So let's say that's my metronome, and let's go back to this scale. There's a reason why musicians practice scales, because they literally train your ear tonally as well as rhythmically. Let me give you an example. If I just do what's called quarter notes, it'll sound like this. Quarter notes are on the beat, on the pulse. So I'll listen and internalize, and I'll play. And so on. Now if I do the next rhythmic set would be eighth notes. Eighth notes is when you double that. Ba, 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 ba. 1 and 2 and. So it would sound like this. 1, 2, ready, and. So that was dividing each pulse into 2 separate beats. Ba, 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 ba. You can also divide into 3. And we call that triplets. Triple that, triple that, triple that, triple that. You can do the same thing with scales. So then if you divide into 4 equal parts, each beat into 4 equal parts, you get what's called 16th notes. 1E enda, 2E enda, 3E enda, 4E enda. 1E enda, 2E enda, 3E enda, 4E enda. Okay? So rhythmically, once you've trained your ear to hear those different rhythms, then you can, manipulate them. Play 16th notes sometimes, play quarter notes sometimes. Play triplets sometimes. So here's how this works, and I'm just telling you through personal experience. You're going to be born with a certain amount of each of these kind of halves of the ear. Some people are born with more of a tonal ear. Those people are usually singers more naturally. And the people who play lead guitar, they have a great tonal ear. But they didn't just get there in one day. You have to literally build this and train this. This is literally training, just like anything else that you train for. And then there's the rhythmic side of your ear. That's why we practice with the metronomes, to internalize our rhythmic ear. And some people are born with more of a rhythmic ear, like me, who started out as a drummer, and I just was good at it from the very beginning. Yeah, I took lessons and trained myself to get better and better, but in reality, I just picked up the drums and just heard it. I could hear it because my ear was more trained rhythmically than it was tonally. So I had to pull my tonal levels up, and I did that a lot in college, but I do that every day playing every instrument. So why did I feel the need to make this video? I think it's so important that as a musician, just because you're a drummer, still train your tonal ear. Just because you're a singer, still train your rhythmic ear. It's so important that both sides of ear training are trained equally over time, and that makes you a more overall complete musician. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.